Last week, I asked you guys what questions you had for me about business, and today I'm gonna answer them with my friend Zach interview style.
All right, starting off, what are your biggest monthly expenses?
So definitely COGS. So inventory, or cost of goods sold. I would say 95% of our expenses are going into buying new inventory to sell for the business.
How do you turn an idea into a business?
So the only thing that you really need to turn an idea into a business is just sell it. So if you have an idea for a physical product that doesn't need a lot of manufacturing overhead, so like if I come up with like a tech startup idea, or something that's gonna take a lot of, it's gonna be very capital intensive, meaning I'm gonna have to put a lot of money up front to get the product designed and created, then it's gonna be a little bit more difficult. But if it's an idea that you can make a prototype of in your house, or maybe you can pre-sell the idea, so you're like, go tell people, crowdfund, if you need to, or pre-sell and say, hey, I have an idea for this thing, you can be a part of starting this business, and then just let them know what the idea is. Once you have orders and cash in hand, you can use that cash to go create the product and get it manufactured, and then just go sell your butt off. And the only difference between any business idea and a functional business is monetization and sell-through.
How old are you?
I am 18 years old.
All right, this one's a two-parter. How do you pick the best business, and how did you choose this business?
Okay, so those are good questions. In terms of how do you choose the best business, there's kind of two ways to look at it. If you're talking about buying a business, there's different sets of, like valuations and equations you can use to figure out what business is a good business to buy. But what I think this question is asking is, how do you choose the best business to start? And I actually kind of have a unique perspective on this. I think that idea is a fallacy. I think that there is no best business to start. I think a lot of times when people are getting into starting their own business, they try to wait and find the perfect idea, or they think that they need to have something that's never been done before, when really all you need to do is find something that people are already doing and just try to do it 1% better, whether that's, getting to the market faster or maybe appealing to a new demographic. So I don't believe that you can find the best business idea, or that you should. I think you should just find something that works because people have already been successful in it, and either add a twist or try to do it more efficiently.
What's your favorite tax loophole?
Oh gosh, should have been prepared for this. Okay, so I really don't have a favorite tax loophole. So as a small business owner or a solopreneur, realistically, I'm actually paying more taxes than anybody that's employed. It's not really until from my understanding, I'm not a CPA, it's not really until you get into like big business, when you're having 500 plus employees, and you're adding value to the community by creating jobs, that you get those huge tax benefits where it's 20% and below. Most small business owners are paying 40 to 60% in taxes. So I don't really have a favorite tax loophole, because I don't feel like I'm at that stage. I can tell you my biggest write-off is definitely my car. I drive a lot for business. I'm always in Dallas or Fort Worth, so I put hundreds and hundreds of miles on my car. So I think being able to write off the mileage is definitely my favorite deduction. But in terms of a favorite loophole, I don't think that I have one. I don't know any tricks. On top of that, I'm not really looking for any tax loopholes right now, because I want my stated income on my tax returns to be as high as possible, because I don't do debt. Meaning I don't have a credit score or a credit history. So when I'm being looked at, if I ever need a mortgage loan or anything, I'm gonna have to go through a manual underwriting process, which means somebody's gonna actually have to take a look at my either bank statements and or tax returns to see how much money I've been making and decide whether I qualify for a certain size loan based off of that. So if I'm using all of these loopholes and deductions and basically saying like, oh, I didn't really make any money this year, so I don't have to pay taxes, then when I go to get a loan, they're gonna be like, oh, you didn't make any money this year, so we're not gonna give you a loan. So it's important for my stated income to actually be pretty high.
Why don't you drink?
Yeah, so this is a loaded question. As you know, I really don't like anything that changes the way that I think. So anything that affects my brain chemistry or my judgment in a significant way really bothers me. On top of that, it's bad for your health, right? You're not gonna feel great the next day. Hangovers are obviously a problem. It gets in the way of physical health and productivity, and I don't see any benefit to it personally. I actually really struggle with I have to really fight to remind myself that there are people that are far more successful than me in every aspect of life that do drink regularly and healthily, and be okay with that, because naturally when I see people that drink, it makes me have less respect for that person. And I know that that's not maybe the right state of mind to have, but that's just kind of how I view things. And yeah, I do not like alcohol, man. It's not my thing.
That's respectful. There's also the legalities too. Do you have any employees, and if so, how many?
That's a good question. So I do not have any W-2 employees, meaning no employees that I pay tax for, but I do work with a lot of subcontractors under 1099. So I have a good amount of people that help me out. I don't say too much, but I have a good amount of people that help me out and kind of, work for me under contract. That gets the job done.
Are you allowed to give an exact number?
I'm not gonna say the exact number of people that are working for me right now, but it is currently less than 5.
What is your favorite part about being a full-time business owner?
So I think my favorite thing about being a business owner right now comes from the fact that I'm so small and I'm really more of a solopreneur than an entrepreneur. And that's just getting to create my own schedule. Like I really like knowing that I do not have to do anything that I don't want to do. Like at any point, like I get to create how every single day looks, every single week, I used to get like really bad anxiety if I had like something coming up on the calendar where it's like, oh, I know this thing's due by then, or I have to go to this, social event or whatever at the end of the week. Now it's just like, oh, I don't have, anything planned for any time. Just got to hit my metrics and do what I love to do. It's really enjoyable.
This next one's really good. What's your favorite business book?
Ooh, Ready, Fire, Aim by Michael Masterson. It's Fastest Way to $100 Million. He takes you through like every single stage of business, from like you're making your first $1 million in business, where he talks about the most important thing is finding one product to sell really well. Then he takes you from 1 to 10, where it's talking about expanding your product line. It is so information dense. I feel like I have learned so much more applicable information from that book than anything else. There are a lot of like self-help and business books that I've read once that are much more like mindset focused, which I think is really important. But Ready, Fire, Aim gives you very applicable information, and that's why I love it so much. So I'm on my 3rd time reading through it right now. I'm just really studying it.
How much do you spend on advertising?
Very little. So the majority of our customer acquisition is organic, either through Facebook or through Instagram. Occasionally, or not even occasionally, I'd say regularly, we boost our ads on Facebook Marketplace since they're individual products. But we never pay more than $6. The rate of return on a boosted Facebook Marketplace listing is so much higher than normal Facebook ads that we can spend $6 and get, 5 to 12,000 views on a product. So very little.
This is the last one. This is a really good question. What advice do you have for a 16-year-old or just a general minor in general starting their own business?
Ooh, that's a great question. The first thing I would say is good for you. You're already way ahead of most people. And I'm really proud of you. I talked about this in my last video, so I'll put it in the cards if you haven't seen it yet. But the best advice that I have for any 16-year-old entrepreneur, especially 16, if you're a little bit younger, it can vary. But my best advice that I have for a 16-year-old starting his own business is don't be fancy. A lot of people feel like they have to get everything right about the business. They have to have all the details nailed down. They have to have a fancy website and a fancy logo. You don't need any of that. If you're 16 starting your own business, get your product in line, get your service in line, and then just go sell. Go try to do as much volume as possible. Go door to door, knock on people's doors, try to sell as much as possible, and that is all that matters. Just be pragmatic and be practical. So I'd say focus on selling and don't be fancy with what you do.
All right, and that's all the questions. Is there anything else you'd like to say as like a final thought?
No, I think that's it. If you haven't already, follow me on Instagram. That's where you'll get to be involved in more videos in the future. And thanks for watching. Peace.